Good morning and welcome to Daily Briefing. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sarah. July 12th, 2026.
Today, we are tracking a major geopolitical crisis as Iran shuts down the Strait of Hormuz, and we will dive into a wild web of circular financing propelling the AI boom. Also, if you are waking up with us in Parker, Colorado, it is 64 degrees and clear, heading up to a high of 92 with a light breeze.
Quite a mix of high-stakes global news and summer heat. Let's get into it.
All right, turning to U.S. news, we are starting with a developing situation that could have massive repercussions for the American economy. Within the next few weeks, U.S. companies are on track to lose thousands of migrant workers due to a wave of visa expirations and sudden policy shifts.
This is going to hit businesses hard, Alex. We are not just talking about one niche market. This spans everything from high-tech firms in Silicon Valley to agricultural operations in the Midwest.
Exactly. The tech sector relies heavily on high-skilled visas like the H-1B, while agriculture, hospitality, and construction depend on seasonal guest worker programs. When these visas expire without a clear path for renewal or extension, the legal labor pool shrinks almost instantly.
And the timing is brutal because many of these industries are already struggling with tight labor markets. If a farm cannot harvest its crops or a tech firm loses its software engineers overnight, it disrupts the entire supply chain.
It really does. Business advocacy groups are sounding the alarm, warning that these impending losses will force companies to scale back operations. They are pushing the administration for emergency extensions or administrative fixes, but time is running out.
It is a delicate political tightrope, too. Any move to ease visa restrictions brings intense scrutiny, but doing nothing could trigger noticeable service disruptions and price hikes for consumers. We will have to watch how the Department of Homeland Security responds in the coming days.
We certainly will. Now, let's turn our attention to a major escalation overseas. Iran has declared the Strait of Hormuz closed. They claim they took this drastic step after striking a vessel that was allegedly navigating what they called an unauthorized route.
This is an absolute nightmare scenario for global shipping and energy markets. The Strait of Hormuz is the world's most important maritime choke point. About a fifth of the global oil supply passes through that narrow stretch of water between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman.
It got even more intense shortly after that announcement. The United States military launched fresh retaliatory strikes against targets in the region. The Pentagon says these strikes were designed to protect commercial shipping and degrade the capabilities of groups threatening maritime security.
So we have a direct military response, which means the risk of a wider conflict is skyrocketing. How are the energy markets reacting to this?
Oil prices started spiking almost immediately after the news broke. Traders are terrified of prolonged disruptions. Even if the closure is temporary, the insurance rates for commercial tankers transiting the region are going to go through the roof, which ultimately drives up fuel costs for everyone.
And it is not just about oil.
A significant portion of global liquefied natural gas also moves through there. If shipping lanes are blocked or deemed too dangerous, it could trigger a massive energy crunch, especially for countries in Europe and Asia that rely heavily on Middle Eastern exports.
The diplomatic channels are reportedly buzzing, with several nations calling for immediate de-escalation, but right now, both sides seem locked in. This is a rapidly developing situation that we will be monitoring closely throughout the day.
Meanwhile, in the cyber domain, we are seeing another highly targeted state-aligned campaign. Hackers have compromised the Balochistan police portal in Pakistan to run a multi-group espionage campaign.
This is a highly sophisticated operation. By weaponizing a legitimate law enforcement portal, the hackers were able to conduct cyber espionage targeting Pakistani law enforcement agencies directly.
Which means they were likely harvesting incredibly sensitive government data, intelligence reports, and personal information of both citizens and police officers. It shows how cyber warfare is being used as a primary tool for regional espionage.
It really highlights the vulnerability of regional government infrastructure. When a police portal is compromised, It completely erodes trust in the security of citizen data and gives adversaries a direct window into law enforcement operations.
Absolutely. Security researchers are pointing to state-aligned groups, suggesting this is part of a much larger, ongoing geopolitical struggle in the region.
Turning back to U.S. political news, we have some solemn news out of Washington. Longtime South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham has passed away at the age of 71.
That is a massive loss for the political landscape. Love him or hate him, Lindsey Graham was a towering figure in modern American conservative politics for decades.
He really was. He served in the House of Representatives before being elected to the Senate in 2002. He was known for his hawkish foreign policy views, his work on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and his ability to navigate the shifting winds of the Republican Party.
He was famously a close ally of Senator John McCain, representing a more traditional brand of conservatism, but then became one of the most prominent supporters of Donald Trump. That transition defined the latter part of his career and drew both praise and intense criticism.
His passing marks the end of an era in South Carolina politics and leaves a significant vacancy in the Senate. South Carolina's governor will have to appoint a temporary replacement, which will undoubtedly trigger a highly competitive race to fill his seat permanently.
It is going to be a major political battleground. His legacy on judicial appointments and foreign policy will be felt for generations.
Coming up, we will head to India for a look at a legendary loss and severe weather updates.
Welcome back. Let's move to India, where the music world is mourning. Legendary playback singer S. Janaki has passed away at the age of 88 in Mysore.
This is truly the end of an era for South Indian cinema. Over her six-decade career, she sang more than 48,000 songs across multiple languages, including Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam.
48,000 songs is just an unbelievable number. She was known for her incredible vocal range and her ability to express every human emotion through her voice. Generations of listeners grew up with her music, and her legacy is absolutely monumental.
She will be deeply missed. Meanwhile, on the weather front, India is dealing with severe monsoon conditions. A sudden cloudburst has triggered major flash floods and landslides in Pahalgam, damaging hotels and houses, while heavy rains continue to lash parts of Meghalaya.
The footage coming out of these regions is devastating. It really highlights how vulnerable these areas are to extreme weather events and underscores the urgent need for better disaster preparedness and infrastructure resilience.
It is a massive challenge every monsoon season. On the political front, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has made a strong statement, saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's promise to restore J and K's statehood must carry weight and be honored.
This points directly to the ongoing political tensions in the region. Ever since the special status was revoked in 2019, the demand for full statehood and democratic restoration has been a central issue, and Abdullah is putting the pressure squarely on New Delhi to deliver on those promises.
It is going to be a key political narrative to watch. Let's talk markets now, Sarah, because there is a fascinating and somewhat concerning report circulating about the financial plumbing of the AI boom.
This is the investigation into NVIDIA, CoreWeave, and Nebius, right? The term being used is circular financing.
Yes, exactly. Analysts are looking closely at how money flows between these companies. Basically, NVIDIA invests in these specialized cloud providers, like CoreWeave, which then turn around and use that capital, along with massive loans backed by NVIDIA chips, to buy even more NVIDIA GPUs.
Wait, so NVIDIA is essentially funding its own customers to buy its own products? That sounds like a financial feedback loop.
That is exactly what critics are calling it. The worry is that this circular flow of capital artificially inflates the apparent demand for AI hardware. If these cloud startups are buying GPUs using money that ultimately originates from NVIDIA or from debt secured by those very same chips, it raises questions about how much organic market demand actually exists.
Wow, okay. So if the actual demand for AI services from end users doesn't materialize fast enough to justify all this infrastructure, this whole web could get very messy very quickly.
Precisely. It draws parallels to the fiber optic build-out of the late 1990s, where companies built massive amounts of infrastructure that sat and used for years. If the revenue from AI software doesn't start matching the massive capital expenditures on hardware, we could see a significant market correction.
That is a really important reality check on the AI hype. Speaking of financial vulnerability, the decentralized finance space took another hit. The header-based lending protocol Bonzo Lend lost over $9 million in an Oracle exploit.
This was a painful one. The exploit caused Bonzo's total value locked to plunge by 77%. Essentially, the attacker manipulated the collateral values by exploiting a vulnerability in Supra's on-chain data feed, allowing them to borrow unauthorized funds.
It is the classic Oracle problem in DeFi. If the smart contract relies on a price feed that can be manipulated, the whole system collapses. It shows that despite all the talk of security, these protocols are still incredibly fragile.
They really are. And in another interesting crypto move, the Bitcoin treasury company Empire Digital sold off about half of its Bitcoin stack, bringing in $87.1 million. But it is what they're doing with the money that is turning heads.
Let me guess, they are buying AI hardware?
You got it. They're using the cash to fund an AI data center in the Midwest. It is part of a growing trend where distressed or restructuring crypto firms are pivoting away from pure digital asset holding and trying to capitalize on the physical AI infrastructure boom.
That is a wild shift. From mining digital coins to hosting AI models. It shows where the big money thinks the future lies, or at least where they think they can get the quickest return right now.
Meanwhile, the New York Attorney General is taking aim at a major consumer payment platform. Cash App is being accused of failing to protect vulnerable users from rampant financial fraud.
Cash App is incredibly popular, especially with younger and lower-income users who might not have traditional bank accounts. What is the Attorney General alleging?
The state argues that Cash App security measures are woefully inadequate, making it a playground for scammers. They claim the platform does not do enough to prevent unauthorized transactions or to help victims recover their stolen funds once fraud occurs. This regulatory pressure could force some major security overhauls.
It is about time. When digital wallets become as essential as bank accounts, they need to have the same level of consumer protection.
When we come back, we will look at how AI is both finding and fixing critical software bugs, and a protest in San Francisco demanding a halt to the AI race.
Welcome back to the Daily Briefing. On the tech side, we have to talk about a major breakthrough in how we find software bugs. An AI system has successfully identified a critical root vulnerability in the Linux operating system that had gone completely unnoticed by human developers for 15 years.
15 years is an eternity in the software world. Think about how many security audits and code reviews Linux has gone through in that time, and a machine managed to spot the flaw where humans failed.
It is a massive milestone for automated software auditing. It shows that AI is moving beyond just writing simple code snippets to actually understanding complex, low-level system architecture well enough to find deeply hidden security flaws.
It is a double-edged sword, though. If defensive A, I can find these bugs to patch them. Offensive A, I can find them to exploit them. But in this case, it is a huge win for proactive defense.
Right, and we saw another example of this with the Ethereum Foundation. They used coordinated AI agents to find a remotely triggerable crash bug in their validated software.
This one had an interesting twist, though. While the AI agents did successfully locate the genuine vulnerability, they also generated a ton of false positives. Human developers had to step in, go through the results, and verify which bugs were real and which were just noise.
So we are not at the point where we can just let AI run the whole show. It still requires that human in the loop to filter out the mistakes. It is a collaborative effort.
Exactly. AI is the superpowered scout, but humans are still the final judges. But while AI is helping secure code, the open-source ecosystem is still facing serious supply chain attacks. A compromised release of the popular NPM package scrambler, version 8.14.0, was found to drop a malicious Rust-based information stealer during installation.
This is terrifying for developers. Scrambler is widely used to protect web application code. If the tool you use for security is compromised to deliver malware, it undermines the entire trust model of open-source registries.
It really does. Developers trust these packages blindly sometimes, and a single compromised dependency can infect thousands of downstream applications. It is a stark reminder of how vulnerable our digital supply chains are.
And all of this rapid advancement and the potential risks are causing some serious pushback. In San Francisco, protesters marched on the offices of OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google DeepMind, demanding that they stop the AI race.
The public anxiety is definitely mounting. These protesters are calling for a halt to the development of advanced models, citing concerns over safety, job displacement, and the lack of ethical guardrails.
It is a tough sell to get these multi-billion-dollar companies to just stop, especially when they are locked in such intense competition. But the fact that people are taking to the streets outside their headquarters shows that this is no longer just an academic debate. It is a mainstream societal concern.
It absolutely is. Now let's look up to the skies. SpaceX has done it again, launching a Falcon 9 rocket for a record-tying 35th time to deploy another batch of Starlink satellites.
35 launches for a single rocket booster. That is just mind-boggling when you think about the history of spaceflight, where everything used to be single-use.
The reusability aspect is completely changing the economics of space. It drives down the cost of orbital access to a fraction of what it used to be, enabling SpaceX to build out its satellite constellation at an unprecedented pace.
But all this tech, both on Earth and in space, comes with a heavy environmental cost. A new report reveals that carbon emissions from major tech data centers have surged to the equivalent of a third of France's total emissions.
That is a staggering statistic. The energy demands of these massive AI training clusters and cloud infrastructure are pushing power grids to their limits and threatening to derail the tech industry's climate goals.
It is the hidden cost of the cloud. We think of digital technology as being clean, but the physical infrastructure required to run it is incredibly resource-intensive.
To combat some of these energy challenges, the Federal Communications Commission has approved the first satellite from a company called Reflect Orbital. They are testing a technology that reflects sunlight to specific locations on Earth during the night.
Wait, so they want to put giant mirrors in space to reflect sunlight down to Earth at night?
Yes, that is the concept. The idea is to extend the hours that solar power plants can generate electricity and to provide localized nighttime illumination. It is highly experimental, but could be a game changer for renewable energy if they can make it work safely.
It sounds like science fiction, but we are seeing it become reality. And speaking of space discoveries, scientists analyzing a rare meteorite have found the chemical fingerprint of a lost, moon-sized planet that once orbited our young sun before being destroyed in a catastrophic collision.
That is incredible. A whole planet that science never knew existed, literally hidden inside a rock that fell to Earth. It gives us a fascinating glimpse into the chaotic early days of our solar system.
Coming up, we will dive into the World Cup action and a record-breaking sports franchise sale.
Welcome back. Let's head over to the sports world, where the World Cup drama is reaching a fever pitch. Jude Bellingham scored twice to lift England past Erling Haaland and Norway with a 2-1 victory, securing England a spot in the semifinals.
Bellingham is just on another level right now, carrying the hopes of a nation on his shoulders and delivering in the biggest moments. That matchup against Haaland was highly anticipated, and England managed to shut down Norway's star striker just enough to edge out the win.
It was a thrilling match, and they will be joined in the semifinals by Argentina. Lionel Messi and his squad marched on, but not without some serious drama. There was a major controversy surrounding a mistaken identity red card that has sparked intense debate over officiating and video review protocols.
It seems like we cannot have a major tournament without some VAR controversy. Sending off the wrong player in a high-stakes knockout match is a massive blunder, but Argentina managed to overcome the chaos and keep their championship dreams alive.
They certainly did. But amid the excitement of the tournament, there is also deep sadness in the sports community. A 25-year-old World Cup soccer star has tragically passed away just days after competing in the tournament.
That is absolutely devastating. To be at the peak of your athletic career, performing on the world stage, and then to be gone so suddenly. The tributes are pouring in from teammates and fans, remembering them as a highly gifted international athlete. Our hearts go out to their family.
Absolutely, a tragic loss. Finally, in ownership news, the Seattle Seahawks have been sold to billionaire Vinod Khosla for a record-breaking price.
Vinod Khosla, the venture capitalist? That is a major shift for the National Football League.
Yes, the co-founder of Sun Microsystems and a massive figure in Silicon Valley. This transaction sets a new financial benchmark for sports franchises and highlights the growing intersection of tech wealth and professional sports ownership.
It will be fascinating to see what kind of analytical, tech-forward approach he brings to running an NFL franchise.
It certainly marks a new chapter for Seattle. Today's stories remind us that whether in geopolitics, technology, or finance, the systems we rely on are deeply interconnected and constantly shifting.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We will see you right back here tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.